Hi, welcome to 2020 Tasty Treats with GourmetQuilter. I'm Susan Clare, GourmetQuilter, and this is the start of a new series. We're doing a 20-part series on using the Leftovers Pantry. How exciting is that? So you can see it's called the Leftovers Pantry, and I've got a picture here of my pantry. This is my pantry in actual reality here. And I just wanted to go through how we can use some of our leftovers. Now, it's not necessarily a whole scrappy quilt thing or anything like that, but we've got 20 days where we're just going to go through using up some of our bits and pieces that are left over when we've done another project, basically. So today we're just going to talk about how you might want to consider setting up your pantry or your storage area or whatever it is that you'd like to call it. It's a pantry for me because, of course, quilting is delicious. So I've gone ahead, there's a pattern that will show you all the steps that we're taking over the 20 days. We'll be making up all sorts of bits and pieces with our leftovers just to show you how they can be used. So there's a download available if you're interested. We've got a chart on how many cuts you can slice across this width of fabric. We've got some general information, we've got some setup information for the pantry. We've got some labels in case you want to use these labels. So some of them have got the measurements that I'm suggesting because that's what my pantry is offering, but you might prefer to do your own. You may have some different ideas that you'd rather do. And then, of course, if you want to make your own little sign, there's a sign in there as well. So mostly we're just going to talk about things today. So this is the system that I like best. These are small drawers that pull out, which means that I can go up to them if I'm looking for something that's perhaps a 3-inch size. I can look in my 3-inch drawer. Now it might have all sorts of other things in there, but all based on 3-inch. It might be strips, it might be squares, there might be some rectangles, but they're basically on a 3-inch basis. So it's a minimum size basically. So I've labelled 12 drawers. These drawers that I've got, they're actually quite nice. They're little bamboo drawers, and they just come in little pairs like this from the store, and I thought that they would work quite well because they just come in twos. It means I can decide how many I want, I can get some more if I feel I need to, etc. Have less, more. You may not have room, or you may not want drawers. There's lots of other ideas that you can consider. You might consider, of course, just plastic bins, which you can see through. They, of course, this is quite large. You might want smaller bins. My hesitation with things like bins or shoe boxes, make another option sometimes, is that they need to be stacked. And you nearly always want the one that's near the bottom of the stack. And so for me, a drawer is much better because I can go straight to the size that I'm looking for. However, it's not always an option for everybody, I realise that. Another option might be to have something like you can get bags that just self-seal and things. These ones happen to zip up. They are see-through enough that you can see, so that you could start doing things like that. Same sort of thing, a bag instead of a drawer, and then they could all be stored in one container perhaps, which would be another option. Again, you can label them. So it's all a matter of sort of organisation. You may have lots of leftovers, you may not have many. Either way, it's good to use what we've got. So I just thought we'd go through that whole concept. Oh, if you didn't want to store these in a bin, you might want to hang them. You might have some coat hangers that you can clip them to in a hanging space. There's just lots of options, and perhaps the drawers is only part of what you need. Perhaps you need more. There's lots of other ways of doing things. It's more of a matter of getting organised and actually doing it. So I also find that I use clips quite a lot. So you might have a whole stack of, say, 3-inch squares that are going to go into your drawer or your container, and you can just clip them together if you want to into little groupings within the overall group. So that's another thought. It could be paper clips, it could be any sort of thing, or not at all. You don't have to do that. So I just thought I'd talk a little bit about leftovers. So leftovers come in a variety of sizes, colours, shapes. Quite often when we've made a project, we might have full width pieces left. So perhaps you've had to have 3/8 of a yard for something, or you've had 7/8, and there's always a little bit of allowance just in case of error when we're cutting. In the fabric requirements for a quilt perhaps, and so you might find you've got some pieces left over that are a variety of different widths in themselves, but the full width of the fabric, in which case I would suggest sorting your leftovers into those sort of pieces first, and then we're going to go through and do some other things. So this was more just a little quick glance at the type of thing that you might have in a leftovers bin or bag or whatever it is that you use. You might have some funny shapes. So we're going to talk about the actual leftovers and what we do with them in the next session. So this was really more about setting up. But I just wanted to just show you the sort of thing that we're likely to be using. We want to get a good mix. I'm not particularly going into colour separation. It's more size separation for me. However, I do like to make sure I've got a good balance of some lights and contrasts, because if we're going to make quilt blocks perhaps or something like that, we want some background type colours. They don't all have to be the same fabric, they could be, but they can be a variety too, but all of a sort of similar lightness or darkness, whichever way it is that you want to go. And then you can put the contrasty colours against those, and that works really well. So you'll see what we're doing later on. We're going to be making some we're going to be doing some cutting and stocking our pantry initially, and then we're going to be starting to use some of those pieces into some blocks and different ways that we can use some of those pieces, which is fantastic, because sometimes we've just got this whole pile, and I have a larger pile than this, I have to say. We have a pile of things that we're not quite sure what to do with, but if as we finish a project, ideally we would cut everything and get it all ready to use. But more on that next time. Let's get our pantry set up. Whatever containers it is that you're going to be using, however you think is a system that will work for you, get everything labelled, ready for us to start putting things into our pantry. So you can't fill a pantry if you haven't got a pantry. Let's get that pantry set up, and next time we'll start filling it up. Thank you.